YouTube, welcome to the story of here on Bouey Films. It is with great pleasure that I welcome everybody watching to a new season 6. You guys know the deal. Subscribe to stay on top of things, man. Welcome to everybody watching it. Welcome to everybody joining us for the first time. As you know, I am your host with the most. Let's be honest, I'm the reason people come to the story of. I am Manny Lagunas. However, this is season 6, the story of Will Baker-Sledd. You might think he's Mexican because of the double last name. That's not an only Mexican thing, though. Will, I want to give you a welcome to the story of. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us to tell us your story. And before we get into it, I got to address my co-host. He is a good friend of mine. You guys know him, but I gotta say, those glasses are chaotic. Jesus don't like chaos, Michael. Don't sit here with them glasses representing us, Michael motherfucking Bouey.
Well, thank you, Manny, for having me here. I see that you put your houseplant right next to you, and it still stands taller than you. Here we are, season 6, the story of. So happy to be here. Will, thank you for being here. Will's a good friend of mine. We've known each other for a few years, but his story is going to be brand new to me. I don't know much about him. Our first episodes usually are always a get to know you, and we want the audiences that are watching to have that same opportunity. So Will, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you actually from, and how were you raised? Like your parents, did you have both parents in your life or any siblings?
So, I was born and raised in a small country, ghetto, hood town.
Damn. Okay.
Trust me, it's a mixture of all of that. Benton Harbor, which we pronounce Ben Harbor. So you would think it was spelled B-E-N instead of B-E-N-T-O-N. Mm-hmm. Benton Harbor, Michigan. We call it Ben Harbor for short. Slang. I grew up with my mom mainly. My dad was not there. He didn't come into my life until I was about 17. Okay. Growing up as a kid, though, I do have one sister with my mother. Her dad is the one who raised me. He was actually there when I was born. My biological father, I was told that he didn't think that I was his child when my mom was pregnant with me. So that started a complication with him being present throughout the earlier years, later teenage years of my life. So I grew up with just my sister Kiana, which is my other half sibling. We share the same mom, but her dad raised me. Okay. Even before she came into the world. She's 3 years younger than me, but he's the man that raised me.
Now, at Benton Harbor, because I'm from Michigan, but can you let the people know like where that is and like what part?
So when you're from Michigan, we like to do the mitten to give you a better understanding of where we're at. Ben Harbor is located in Southwest Michigan, about right here, right on Lake Michigan. It's like one of the last cities you'll pass before going into Indiana. If you're traveling west on 94 to go to Chicago.
Okay. Now, I actually had to go out there, and we won't say, I guess we can say why. You got married, and I had to go out there, and that was the longest drive of my life. I was like, did I pass like 4 states getting there? To me, like, it was a very long drive. So yes, it is at the bottom.
A long, boring drive.
Yeah. And then you said you had one sister, but with a different father, but your father wasn't in your life throughout your entire life until you were 17 years old?
Yeah, about 17.
So how was that growing up with your mom? Did she? I mean, obviously, when people are growing up, they have their mother or their father in their life, and each person out of the parents brings something different to the table to each child. The motherly love and the fatherly love. There's two different kinds of feel. So to not have that with inside of your entire life, how was that growing up with your mom kind of raising you?
To be honest, I don't really know what type of negative effects it truly had on me. Being that I still had a male father figure there, even though he wasn't my biological father, he was still in the household. So having him around and his family take me under their wing and treat me like I was one of theirs was a blessing. So I can honestly say it still felt normal. At that time, I didn't really know or understand that he wasn't my biological father. Like, that wasn't something that my mom chose to put out there. It wasn't until I got a little bit older to understand that he wasn't my real father. That's when I realized, okay, there's something strange happening here. And I don't quite understand it, but at the same time, everything has been fine before now, so I'm not going to really focus on it.
So just correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry not to cut you off, man. I see you have a question, but who was it unclear of? It wasn't clear to you that he was your real father. Was it clear to him that you were not his real son?
Yeah.
Okay.
He knew all the time, but he never referred to me as like his stepson or anything of that sort. I was always his son.
Okay. And where did your mom meet him?
That I'm not sure. I believe they all went to high school together, and some of my mom's friends were friends with him and some of his friends too.
I was just looking at what part of your life he came in. Like, how did she meet him?
When I was born, he was there already.
Oh, okay.
So he must have came into the picture while she was pregnant with me.
I get it. I see how how you would. So you saw him as being your dad, just because he's always been inside of that picture. But he does he look like you?
No, not at all.
You didn't question that?
It's not a question that. If you seen him, you definitely would not think that he was my dad.
Well,
he was there. He was there when I was actually born. So when my mom had me, he was there.
Oh, wow. Now that's pops. Because that's what I was gonna ask. Like, and I don't know, I'm thinking of a cool way to say this. Are your folks mixed? Because, like, how does that happen? You look like, no? Is that like your natural hair color?
Yeah, my natural hair color is like a sandy brown.
He got that white people baby hair, don't he?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm sitting here like, somebody in your family redheaded? Yeah.
So on my biological dad side, my grandmother he told me that she's Indian. I don't know how much, but when you look at her, you do see that he's not lying. So she is like a reddish tint color. Even my dad is too, but he's more darker than me. And the hair color is a mixture. So on my dad's side with the siblings, there is 9 of us, and all of us have different moms.
Oh, okay. Is that part of the reason why
you have 9 siblings and all of them have different moms?
Every single one of us on my dad's side, we have different mothers.
So your family reunion, you guys gotta rent out a state or something, don't you? A whole town, like that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Is that like the reason why, like, your biological father had his doubts about you being his child for a long ass time? That was 17 years, bro. That's a long ass time. Is that something you never even bothered to ask?
I never asked. Clearly he was too busy planting more seeds.
I mean, you said it.
Now, with your biological father not being in the picture, was it because he walked out of the picture that the relationship between you and him and your mom was not good, and so they kind of went their separate ways? Well, do you know the reason why he wasn't there?
Nope. I know they did go their separate ways, and then stories I've heard, there were times where he wanted to come back into my life, but my sister's dad was blocking it just because you weren't trying to be there in the beginning and denied me. And why now? So, and I don't think he was the type of person where I've tried once, I'm not going to do it again. So he just stayed away. Sad thing is we lived in the same fucking city, and our city is tiny. It's only about 10,000 people. It's probably about the size of Ypsilanti, if that.
Damn, yeah, that's a small town. And both of your folks is from Benton Harbor?
At the time, yeah, but my dad's originally from East St. Louis, Illinois, and my mom is originally from Osceola, Arkansas.
But they went to high school together, right?
Yes.
So they grew up in the Benton Harbor area, or?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've been there.
I was told that a lot of families from the South migrated to the North. And even in my hometown, a lot of us, our families are from somewhere in the South and ended up in Michigan, in Benton Harbor.
So I want to take a look at your school career. What was it? What kind of kid were you? Where schools did you go to? And were you that good kid, that bad kid, that smart kid? The opposite of that smart kid?
I was the quiet, shy, undercover geek, overachiever.
Now you say undercover geek, that could be because to me, I'm a nerd at heart, but that's just because I like a lot of things that are not.
That's not why. That's not why.
Kind of thing. Like, okay.
That's not why.
All right.
A lot of people looked at me and didn't think that I was a scholar. I was just, I don't know, perceived to be like a plain, your ordinary badass kid from next door. But I was actually the one out the bunch that hung with the thugs and the people that ended up not really doing nothing with themselves, but was the scholar out of all of them.
Well, that wouldn't be geeky with that.
No.
Well, I meant geek in a way of being smart, pretty much.
So you were smart, but you hung out with the thugs.
Well, coming from my hometown, that's pretty much all that was there.
I was gonna ask that. I don't know if too many thugs from Benton Harbor. You gotta explain that to me a little bit. What is there to do in Benton Harbor growing up? What is there to do?
Nothing. And that's the reason why a lot of the people turn to the streets. So my story with not having my father in my life, that was like 95% of the men in our city story as well.
Damn.
Okay. What about friends and or girlfriends?
Lots of girlfriends. Lots of admirers that I didn't really pay attention to as well.
What do you mean by that?
Trying not to give away too much, but
so just people that kind of like look to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about friends? Did you have a childhood friend that, whether you grew apart or whether you're still together day one, from your day one, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I had tons of friends, actually. Had tons of friends. I have a large mass of them that are still around from childhood.
So I've never been to Benton Harbor. And since we're talking about you growing up, the question has to be asked. And even now, I guess, did you and do you have, now let's just stick to did you, growing up, did you have any Mexican friends in Benton Harbor? That's the question everybody want to know. Did you have Mexican friends in Benton Harbor? See, I'm telling you.
So Benton Harbor's population was like 98% black and maybe the other 2% was white.
And 98% of that population was part of his family members because they all had different mothers and brothers and sisters and cousins and aunties. So he's a large population of Benton Harbor, if not the United States of America, for all we know. So
we get it. So talk to us, because you a little you're familiar with Michigan. You just made a mention about Ypsi, right? Throughout your childhood, did you travel a lot throughout Michigan? Did you get to know other places in Michigan? Because a lot of people don't even know where Ypsi is at.
So in high school, my favorite hobby was dance, and I started my first hip hop dance crew, and we were so good that we used to get invited to shows and competitions and battles at different colleges throughout Michigan. Mind you, we were a high school dance crew. So also with me being the older one, so in school there's a cutoff, which is December 1st before you can start school, and I missed the cutoff by 3 days, so I had to wait a whole year to start school, which made me a year older than most of my peers. So me getting my license while still being a junior, actually sophomore, I was able to drive around the state a lot. And at this time, when my mom and my sister's dad ended up breaking up, he moved to Grand Rapids, which was an hour away from Benton Harbor. So we drove to Grand Rapids a lot. Sometime we would travel down 94 to Kalamazoo towards Detroit area. And that's how I got familiar with all of the cities in between, aside from performing and competing in different shows at the colleges throughout Michigan too.
I just want to touch it a little bit because, like I said, for the people that are watching, I do know you, and I've been calling you out to a dance-off since I've met you, which I would destroy you. I mean, let's just say you don't even want those kind of problems. But how many people were in your dance crew? Did you guys have a name? And what kind of dance did you specifically do?
So my very first dance crew was called Squad 4. It was only 4 of us. It was me, my friend James, a girl named Shakara, and her sister. First dance crew ever. Hip hop dance was the only dance style we did.
Where did you perform? You just on the street? You did videos?
So in our hometown, we always had talent shows and dance competitions at our state theater downtown. So we started off by doing just our local school shows, and people that would see us coming from surrounding areas would invite us to other shows to compete. So that led into like South Bend, Indiana, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then it just continued from there to expand.
And did you win any of these talent shows first place?
We never lost. Never lost.
You've never lost?
Never lost.
Okay.
I'm about to travel down to Benton Harbor. You get your crew together. We're going to get inside some of these talent shows.
No. Michael got 2 left feet. What about sports, though? What about sports? Because, you come from a mostly African-American city, right? Most of the people are black. So if there's one thing we all know, black people excel at sports. I'm just gonna put it out there. Black people excel at, not Michael though. I'm not Michael. But what about sports? Was that a big part in your life? Did you know? Did you ever?
It was a small part of my life, not really much. So I played football and basketball in middle school, but I was also in band from 5th grade through college, actually. And being good at playing musical instruments is what kind of got me out of sports, because they make you choose to either be in band or sports in our hometown, because it was like the top 2 things our city was known for.
Do you think? Okay, go ahead. So
our bands in Benton Harbor, we were like the high step in college, black HBCU marching bands, even in middle school. So that was something that I loved doing and devoted all my time to. So that's why I didn't do sports.
That's what I was going to ask. That was my follow-up sort of question, because now that you mentioned you being involved in band as well, and you were in a dance crew for a big part of your life, do you think that's the reason why growing up you sort of stayed? You mentioned you used to hang around with like the thugs and you used to hang in the streets, but you was also about your school. Do you think that dance and music played a big part in your childhood growing up to keep you out of the streets?
Yeah, and also going backwards, growing up with my sister's dad and my mom being together, he was there for about the first 13 years of my life, but the relationship was very toxic. So I did deal with the domestic violence years. And sometimes that caused for me and my sister to grow up really fast. Sometimes we were home alone when my mom works third shift and we're sleeping and she trusted leaving us home alone while she's at work. So I got into a phase where I couldn't really focus on doing dumb shit. Like it was like a matter of life or death because my mom needed to do what she needed to do for me and my sister, but somebody also had to look out for us too while she's not there. So, or he wasn't there.
Now, I had a question, and trust me, we will revisit the dance thing. I'm not letting that go, so let's not pretend like that didn't happen. But to look at the fact that you said that you hung out with thugs, was there any peer pressure that led to you making decisions that maybe got you in trouble, or that decisions that are things that you regret?
No.
Hanging out with them. You never
No,
got any troubles? You just hung out with thugs and zero
I never
troubles?
got caught. I should say that.
Oh, okay. Are any of these incriminating that you can share?
So, well, I've never been around and somebody had shot somebody.
Hold on, because I don't want to be an accomplice. How far are we going here?
I mean, I've seen people get shot,
I got
but
a
it
good
wasn't,
life. Okay, I'm not
it
trying to
wasn't
go
the people
in.
I was hanging with. But the most that I've been involved in was fights, street fights, seeing people getting beat to a bloody pulp or knocked out, and just being a witness to it, not really being the person that did it, or shoplifting. That's probably as bad as it gets.
What about drugs? Were drugs present in Benton Harbor? Were people smoking that crack? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something you
In
witnessed?
my household.
Talk about it.
My sister's dad sold drugs. He also did drugs, and we've seen it, but we've never engaged in it. My mom hasn't either, but it was just for survival, actually, to bring money into the house.
So it was a rough growing up to where you guys had to kind of do whatever to make money. What did your mom do for a living?
She was a certified nurse assistant.
Okay. And then the person that you knew as father growing up, what did he do?
Nothing.
So your mom was basically raising you. She was, I don't want to say a stay-at-home dad, because you said there was many times you were staying at home by yourselves.
Yeah.
So where was he at if he didn't have a job?
Running the streets, probably with other women too.
Wow.
That life is kind of what led to my mom leaving him, along with the domestic violence, because of her expressing concern about his lifestyle.
And how did that play a role in your life at that young age, to witness that with drugs, domestic violence, it being prevalent with selling and taking?
I think being exposed to that while growing up, it kind of made me not want to be like him, for one, as far as beating on women. It also made me want to be more of a better provider for my household or my kids whenever I got to that. I do think it has contributed to my temper. I think I'm easily... Just seeing him get upset and mad over the stupidest shit sometimes, I feel like that has had an effect on me before.
So were you someone that got easily upset at a young age? Like you would blow your shit?
Still is.
So were there triggers, things that would set you off, or just could it be anything?
It depends. It's situational.
Okay.
I guess looking back on it now, though, because you said you were back then and you still are to a certain extent now, do you think that's from what you witnessed from your step pops, or is that something that's been bottled up inside you ever since you were a little kid?
Both.
Is it something that you're working on? Do you see anybody about it? Is it helping?
Yeah, I've not completely, but a drastic change has happened over the time from back then for the good.
So does that mean like when you were a kid, that affected you how? your temper? How did that affect you as a kid?
So it made me not trust men, especially
Mm.
the ones that would attempt to come in my mom's life. I would always assume that they were going to be like him, or I was always waiting for a sign that they were like him. And she did happen to date one guy that ended up being like him, that ended up turning into a bloody brawl in our home, to where I was on the run for like a month or so, hiding at relatives' homes from the police because I had physically attacked them and
Damn.
did a lot of damage with weapons and shit. And yeah,
How old were you when this happened?
I was probably like 16,
Damn.
17, something like that.
And at what point did your mom leave the first guy? Like how old were you when that happened?
Like 13.
Okay, so he was in your life for 13 years. She left him, and then a new guy came in, and then
The
he
new
kind
guy
of
didn't come in until about maybe 3 years later.
okay, and then that didn't work out,
That
and
didn't work out. Then this next guy, which was the one that I ended up fighting and tried to kill, um, he came in, and to be honest, that's actually the last guy my mom's been with.
she's not still with him.
No, my mom's been single for like over 10 years,
Mm,
maybe 2 decades.
right. But
Interesting.
even back then, though, you describe it the way you're describing this fight with this other individual that came into your mom's life. The way you describe that fight, it's almost like you whooped his ass. I'm gonna just be honest, like you whooped his ass, like you cleaned the floor with him. Is it fair to
Well,
say that?
I was being chased with an axe.
God damn, what type of shit goes on in Benton Harbor?
I was just about to say I'm not going to Benton Harbor anymore. I'm glad I made it out alive.
Geez, I thought Detroit. I thought the city was
Well,
tough,
that's a good
but
comparison that you say when you say Detroit. Is that
So a lot of people compare our little city to Detroit.
and is it because what you're experiencing throughout your younger years that it's like that everywhere in Benton Harbor, or was that just like your life and your household?
It's there like that pretty much everywhere. Not everywhere, but it's pretty prevalent.
So like
So
friends of
Ben
yours
Harbor is
growing up
like
had
full
those
of
same kinds of
poverty.
things.
It's a really poor city full of poverty, full of single parent mothers, single parent homes. I mean, there's not many jobs. There's not much to do for fun. So people resort to doing dumb shit and being violent. And then us growing up, it's kind of like you mock what you've seen while you're growing up. So that repeated pattern
Mhm.
has been constantly going on forever and ever and ever and ever. Like to today, it seems like the city's going backwards. It kind of got better for a while, and then this new generation of kids, like they're already bringing guns and shit to school in our hometown. So it's like listening and seeing the stories of my hometown right now, it literally feels like I'm reliving my childhood.
These kids nowadays, they're really fucking shit up. Like we don't even the police can't handle it. We need the Power Rangers. I mean, it's getting to a point where it's just a little ridiculous with the stuff that they're doing. And that was going to kind of be my question: if things had gotten worse or better since, like, from your childhood. And like I said, I've only been there once, and I didn't. I mean, it seemed like a quiet town, and maybe from where I was, it was quiet because I just drove there, and then I went home.
We were
So,
on the outskirts.
huh?
We were on the outskirts.
Oh, okay. And where is the closest like city closest to it? What's that called? Did people go there, or did they kind of just stay in that tight knit Benton Harbor
So
area?
literally right across the river from Benton Harbor is a city called St. Joseph.
Okay.
And it's predominantly white, and it's completely in 180 from Benton Harbor, and it's only separated by a bridge.
And they don't want none of you coming over.
Never did.
I was about to censor myself significantly here on the
But
story
it's
of.
also where the jailhouse is.
Damn.
Oh, that way you can go visit a lot of your peeps if you need to. That's crazy. Well, I think that we've learned a lot just to get to know you of what you've been through. I think that even inside of your younger years, it sounds like stuff that you would almost hear inside of a movie or see inside of a movie in terms of the stuff that you've been through. And like I said, it's all new to me, so I think I've learned a lot, and I hope that everybody else tuning in has learned a lot. And we're gonna jump into the nitty gritty when we move into the next episode next week here on the story of Friday Nights at 10 o'clock. So I want to thank Will for joining us. Manny, you can put the plant in front of you so we don't see you, because I'm pretty sure it will cover up your whole body even if you were standing up. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell, do all that jazz. Let us know inside the comments what you guys think. And if you ever want to be a guest here on the story of, hit us up and let us know. We would definitely put you on. Until then, stay away from Benton Harbor and the crime that goes on in there. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.